Welcome travelers to Adventures in Security. In this video, we explore access control and identity management. You can download the video script, including the bibliography, from the link below. In this video, we're going to build a clear, from-the-ground-up mental model of access control. By the end, you should be able to explain 4 core elements: identification, authentication, authorization, and auditing. And you'll be able to narrate what actually happens when a user or a service account tries to access a resource. We'll also zoom out and look at the identity lifecycle, how identities are created, changed, and retired, and we'll connect all of that to modern zero-trust thinking. As we go, I'll keep asking the same question. How do we make sure the right entity gets the right access to the right resource at the right time, for the right reason? And how do we prove it later? Access control is the discipline of deciding who or what can do what to which resource. A subject could be a person, a device, or an application. An object could be a file, a database row, an API, or an admin console. And the decision is driven by policy, your rules about what should be allowed. The 4 elements we'll use are easy to remember. Identification is the claim. I am Alex. Authentication is the proof. Here's evidence. I'm really Alex. Authorization is the decision. Alex is allowed to read payroll, but not change it. And auditing is the record. At 10:03, Alex read payroll from a managed laptop, and the system allowed it. One key takeaway: these are not separate silos. They're a chain. If you weaken one link, like weak authentication, everything after it becomes less trustworthy. Identification is simply how an entity presents a unique label to the system. Most people think of a username, but identification can also be an employee number, an email address, a device certificate name, or a service account ID used by an API. Notice what identification is not. It's not proof. If I type admin into a login screen, I've identified myself as admin, but I haven't convinced anyone I truly own that identity. In practice, identification depends on an identity record living somewhere. An identity store like Active Directory, an HR system, or a cloud identity provider. That record includes attributes, department, job role, group memberships, and sometimes risk signals like privileged account or break glass account. So when you think identification, think what identifier is being claimed and what attributes are attached to it. Those attributes become inputs to the next steps. Authentication answers the question: can you prove you control the authenticator associated with that identity? An authenticator might be something you know, like a password, something you have, like a one-time code app, a hardware token, or a smart card, or something you are, like a biometric. Multi-factor authentication, or MFA, means you combine independent factors to reduce the risk that a single compromise leads to account takeover. A big modern theme is phishing resistance. If your second factor is just a push notification you can be tricked into approving, attackers can still win. Phishing-resistant options like FIDO2/WebAuthn security keys or PIV smart cards make it much harder to replay or steal the secret. Also remember, authentication isn't always one and done. Good systems re-authenticate or step up authentication when risk increases. Say the login comes from a new device, a new location, or a sensitive action like changing bank details. Once the system knows or has high confidence who you are, it still has to decide what you're allowed to do. That's authorization. Authorization is policy applied to a request. Subject X wants to perform action Y on resource Z under conditions C. The conditions could include time of day, device health, network location, data sensitivity, or whether the session is privileged. There are different policy models: role-based access control, RBAC grants permissions through roles like HR specialist, Attribute-based access control, ABAC, evaluates attributes like department equals HR and data equals confidential. Many modern systems blend these into policy-based access control with a central policy decision point and distributed policy enforcement. The security principle here is least privilege. Give only the access needed, for only as long as it's needed. For privileged tasks, aim for just in time and just enough access, rather than permanent admin rights. Auditing is how we create accountability. Even if identification, authentication, and authorization are perfect, you still need evidence of what happened, especially when something goes wrong. At a minimum, audit logs should answer who did it, what they tried to do, when and where it happened, and whether it succeeded or failed. Good logging also records important context, like the device ID, the application used, and the policy that allowed or blocked the action. Why do we care? Auditing supports detection, spotting suspicious behavior, plus investigations, compliance reporting, and even basic troubleshooting. But logs only help if they're protected. You want integrity so attackers can't cover their tracks, retention so you can investigate later, and monitoring so the right alerts reach the right people. Think of auditing as your security camera system. Locks and keys matter, but cameras tell you what actually happened. For a detailed look at log analysis and management, view my video at the link below. Let's walk the whole process with a simple scenario. Imagine Jordan, an employee, opens a payroll web app. Step 1. Identification. Jordan types a username, and the browser is also identified by signals like device certificate, IP address, and browser fingerprint. The system now knows which identity record to look up. Step 2. Authentication. Jordan enters a password and completes MFA. The identity provider verifies the factors and issues a session token that represents Jordan's authenticated session. Step 3. Authorization. Now the app asks, is Jordan allowed to view payroll for this employee? A policy engine evaluates Jordan's role, the sensitivity of the data, the device posture, and maybe location. If the conditions match policy, access is granted, often for a limited time and scope. Step 4. Auditing. Every major event is logged. The login attempt, the MFA method used, the authorization decision, and the data access. Here's the zero trust twist. The story doesn't end after login. If risk changes, Jordan's device becomes non-compliant, or the request suddenly looks anomalous, the system can reauthorize, require step-up authentication, or terminate the session. Now zoom out from a single login to the identity lifecycle. In IAM, we often talk about joiner, mover, leaver. A joiner is onboarding. Someone is hired, or a service is created, and the organization proofs/enrolls that identity, creates accounts, assigns attributes and issues, authenticators like an MFA method or certificate. Good onboarding is fast but controlled. The person gets the access they need, not a pile of default permissions. A mover is change. People switch teams, gain responsibilities, or lose them. This is where access creep happens. So movers require governance, access requests with approval, role updates, and periodic access reviews to confirm that old permissions are removed. One of the ways to do this is to remove all access previously assigned, and then assign permissions based on the new role. A leaver is offboarding. When employment ends or a workload is retired, you disable accounts, revoke keys and tokens, remove group memberships, and rotate shared secrets. Offboarding is also about evidence. You retain logs and records to show who had access and when. Identity lifecycle isn't just human. Non-person identities, service accounts, APIs, workloads also need creation, rotation, monitoring, and retirement. That's it for this video. If you learned anything, please remember to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And until next time, be careful what you click.